My mother uses men and then trades them in. First, the background. Roughly a decade ago, I, then 32F, was dumped by my partner, Peter, 35M, of 15 plus years. What I soon discovered was that he had made the decision months earlier, and had already started seeing someone else. It was only after he decided to move forward in the new relationship that he bothered to tell me we're through. I remember, at the time, having this recurring thought: while you don't quit a job until you have another one lined up, you don't treat relationships the same way. If you're already checked out and just keeping someone handy until you find their replacement, you're using them. And he was using me, in many ways. Fast forward a few years, and my sister, then 31F, had the same thing done to her. Her son's father, Mark, 37M, started hanging out with this other woman, Tracy, at first swearing to my sister that they were just friends. They had a similar interest that my sister did not share. He loved my sister so much and would never cheat, etc. etc. Then eventually, he told my sister that he wanted to explore a romantic relationship with Tracy. Oh, but it gets better, because at first he wanted my sister to stay, to continue cooking and cleaning for him and Tracy, and if the new relationship didn't work out, then he would just go back to my sister. Thankfully she had more self-respect than that. But before she even had time to find a place for herself and my nephew to live and move out, he was already bringing Tracy around and being flirtatious and affectionate with her, right in front of my sister. Back to present day, R, divorced, remarried, and then widowed, mother, 70s, has had a live-in boyfriend, Dave, for several years. Recently, she met someone new, John, and made plans to run away with him. She claims that her romantic relationship with Dave has been over for a long time and that they have just been living together as roommates, but I'm fairly convinced that she had never made that clear to Dave, until the day she told him about John and gave him 30 days to move out. Understandably, Dave went ballistic, called my mother some names, ransacked the house and took everything that belonged to him or that he believed belonged to him. My mother turned around and made herself the victim, said Dave's reaction clearly shows how unstable he is and that he has just been using and scamming her, etc. etc. Now I'm not saying I'm a fan of Dave, but as far as I'm concerned, her behavior here is no different from Peter's and Mark's, and it's shitty behavior regardless of how likable or desirable the other person is. After seeing it happen to both me and my sister, and how much it hurt us, I'm beyond disgusted that she would do the same thing to anyone. But she keeps looking to us for validation, expecting us to agree with her, making herself out to be the victim. I won't even answer her phone calls, because I have nothing to say to her that she's going to want to hear. There is one small piece of justice here. John, the man my mother was going to sell her house and run away with, actually did turn out to be a scammer. Or at least he ghosted her after he was supposed to be traveling across the country to rescue her, which she interpreted as him scamming her. I couldn't help laughing my ass off when I heard that. Comment. So your mom divorced your dad? How's your relationship with her, in general? It seems pretty contentious just by this post. If she's in her 70s, she grew up in a time when women were expected to need a man and they were raised to believe that. I'm not defending her, just saying it seems like there are underlying issues on both sides here. No, you're right. Anyone who starts a new relationship before breaking up the old one, even if just an EA, is cheating and treating their partner like crap. It's not right and should not be done. Not everyone does that, though. There are definitely many of us guys and girls who treat relationships and partners more respectfully. So when your relationship breaks down you're the victim, but when hers does she's undeserving of your support and sympathy. Also I find it weird to conflate the relationships, it's not a competition. I mean I'm not judging you, I can't stand my mother but I admit it. The worst part of it is she taught you this behavior is acceptable as children. Enabling it to happen to you over and over again unless you can break the cycle. Story 2. My mom will never value me the way she values my sibling. My folks divorced late in life and I'm not young either. Happily married with no children by choice and I am in a good place now. Grew up in an emotionally and physically abusive family and my parents are the distant, cold, and authoritative sort who never liked kids. Kids was just the unfortunate result of having unprotected sex. I was made to know from a very young age that I was never wanted and would have been aborted like an elder sibling had my grandmother not intervened. I would add sexual abuse too, but I'm not sure. I have always been very uncomfortable around my old man, and he behaved in a creepy way and had touched me inappropriately that I had nightmares that I wake up fighting and crying well into my mid-20s. But that's another story. I have not had contact with the old man for upwards of more than 10 years, and he is very ill now. I am still in contact with my mom, though our relationship is cool. I'm Asian, and in my culture we are expected to support our parents no matter what. At my grand old age, I felt like I should be able to let this past rest behind me now. But at times they just bubble to the surface and hurts me. My elder sibling is the golden child while I was the rebellious one. They got away from never lifting a finger in the house, and we have to pick up after them, and yet they get double allowance from both parents when we were still students. On the other hand, I helped out around the house and had to work part-time in school to supplement my allowance from only my mom, which wasn't enough. The favoritism and differential treatment is far more than that, but I don't have the energy to bring them up. Because my sibling and I don't get along, my mom would by default prioritize them over me. I was always excluded from family holidays and gatherings so she does not have to deal with both of us in the same room. This caused a lot of resentment growing up. But the last straw was when some of my close relatives passed, and the resentment bubbled back to the surface again because of her divide and conquer policy. I was excluded from so many family events and trips where I could have spent memorable time with them. I had to quietly make a 5-hour journey both ways to visit my grandmother on the rare occasions my sibling is not monopolizing her time while they put on a show to everyone what a lovely grandchild they are. No one knows I bothered to visit my grandma because I'm always excluded from family events, so they thought I don't visit. Grandma passed, and it is our culture to pay respects to her during certain festivals. My mom casually mentioned how she got the whole extended family together, including very distant relatives, for the festival, and something just snapped in me. I went crazy and I asked her why did she exclude me as always? I am her child, and she even went as far to invite distant relatives, but she thought it was okay to exclude me. Without even missing a beat, she angrily replied, "You are married. Why do I even need to call you? The dam broke." All the years of acting as if her actions don't hurt me just crumbled. I screamed and I poured out all the resentment I have been suppressing. Of how she have left me at home while the whole extended family goes for holidays, and how whatever I did was never enough for her. She doubled down and denied it was an issue at all. I didn't speak to her for close to a year, and our relationship never really got better from that incident. During the Cold War, I gave her opportunity to apologize, but she never did, and in fact doubled down, saying that it's okay, you feel this way and it doesn't matter. You can think whatever you like. I was absolutely heartbroken why my own mom can be so cruel. I know she never loved me or wanted me as a child. But for her to prove it in my face was still painful, no matter that I am no longer a child. I took her out for her birthday recently for an extravagant meal in an expensive and highly rated hotel. As usual, nothing pleases her and she always has something to pick on. The conversation went to how my old man is on his death throes and my sibling is taking care of him by helping to clean his house and hiring a helper to take care of him. She quoted my sibling saying that they never realized how filthy my father is and how they never realized that when we were all living together before they divorced. She said to my sibling that it's because she was the one cleaning up after my dad, hence she never realized because she never does anything around the house. I reminded her that I chipped in too and asked her why, as my sibling's parent, did she not do anything to get her to help and let her do as she pleased. I brought up some of my siblings' classic behavior of hiding in their room and not doing anything, and couldn't even pick up after themselves, like replacing the toilet roll or putting an empty drink container they had finished in the bin. She went into denial mode again and said she don't remember and she don't want to remember, and she is happier this way by not remembering anything. She said it's my sibling's karma now for having to deal with this, since she had always been in her own world and since no one else will take care of the old man since everyone else had cut him off. I just felt oddly disappointed and gaslighted again. Like I have been dismissed as the delusion one. On one hand, I know it's all in the past and I'm in a good place now, and for my own happiness I should leave all these behind. On the other, I can't help feeling disappointed and hurt. My mom just simply cannot register my pain from how I was treated. Story 3. I almost died of a botched kidney transplant 6 years ago. I'm still not over it. For context, I had kidney problems throughout my entire adolescence through the end of high school. They simply didn't develop correctly before I was born. I got another kidney in 2018 and I'm physically healthy now. So I was pretty sick towards the end of high school, to the point of being visibly pale and even a little yellow. I had a creatine level of over 5.8 and was put on the transplant list in November 2016. Fast forward to August, 2017 I get a call that they have a match for me and I was to report downtown to Lebanon Children's Hospital. Since I had been first put on the list as a minor, I was simply elated. Finally I was going to be healthy for the first time in my life, but it just couldn't be that easy, could it? I was rolled into pre-op at 6:30 the next morning and the team went to work on putting the transplanted organ on my right side. For the first day, everything seemed okay. Then the ultrasounds started, they seemed unusually upset. I started to retain fluid and fading in and out of consciousness. The last thing I remember is the feeling of being rushed down to the OR for emergency surgery. I woke up in the ICU with a direct heart line in my neck and 4/4 completely confused and high on fentanyl. Some days later, I came to and learned what happened. A blood clot. They had made a mistake and a clot had formed that killed the organ. I live near Memphis, TN, which is the transplant capital of the US. These are some of the greatest surgeons in the world. How could this happen? I also lost some of what little kidney function I had after this. I started my freshman year of college less than 4 days after being paralyzed in the hospital. I was miserable living on campus, stuck in a small dark cube night after night. This culminated in me shoving the front of a knife in my wrist one night. No one but my parents know about this. As I mentioned earlier, I eventually did get another kidney 10 months later and this time nothing went wrong. Everyone just acts like I should just simply be grateful and that should be enough for me to presumably forget all of this. This is insufferable and insulting. The insane levels of PTSD, which evolved into bipolar disorder, is sometimes too much for me to deal with and no one can seemingly understand this. I'm doing okay now mentally. I've definitely made progress and am even super close to getting my degree in film and video production.